InnerQuest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Hello, welcome to InnerQuest. My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guest is Michelle Heather. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Michelle started to develop her intuitive abilities in 1999. Michelle's going to talk to us about being a psychic and how people can develop their own psychic energy and power. As a result of Michelle developing her intuitive abilities, she had a strong desire to help and heal people. In 2003, Michelle became a Reiki master teacher. In 2010, Michelle became a soul memory discoverer, facilitator, and indigo child facilitator. So the first thing I'm going to ask you, Michelle, what is a psychic? And what does a psychic do?
The way I define a psychic is somebody who can look at somebody or a person or a place and read the energy on multiple levels. A psychic can also communicate with the person's guides and the angels and God source to get information that will benefit the person in question.
Now, when you say read a person on many levels, how many levels are there?
You have the physical body level, you have the mental level, which is the thought process, you have your emotional level, which is different because your emotions, you're not thinking about them, you're feeling them, and they're more of a spontaneous reaction. And then you also have the etheric level, which is your connection to source. So for the most part, there are 4 basic levels that each human or every being on Earth has.
So when you're reading, let's say on a physical level, let's say you might pick up somebody's having a physical health problem?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so let's say when you read someone, do you tell the person what you're picking up? And
absolutely. I give people as much information as that I'm receiving, because if I'm receiving it for somebody, they're entitled to the information if they're asking me. It's also people have choices. While I'm receiving the information, you have an opportunity before it's written in stone, so that if you want to change something, you have option to do that. So let's say your family, I can pick up history of a health problem in your family. You can make the conscious decision that you're going to do everything you can to heal that problem before it manifests in you.
Okay. Now, Edgar Cayce, in my mind, is the most famous psychic and maybe the greatest psychic. That's C-A-Y-C-E for those that want to look him up. But he also would give prescriptions. I'm well aware that, you know, there's thousands of prescriptions where, you know, people would be writing a letter, it'd be in the mail, and he'd be dictating a response before I even received the letter. And so, do you also give prescriptions?
Do I give prescriptions? No, in the state, it's not legal for me to write the prescriptions. But many times
suggestions. that would be probably a more appropriate.
Many times I know who's calling before, you know, they actually call. And sure, if there's ways that I can help somebody, I will absolutely. That's what I'm here for, to bring the guidance and the suggestions down from source.
Okay, okay. So the psychic energy doesn't come from your mind. You're saying it comes from source?
Psychic energy will come from source. It's sort of, I'm like the receiver. I'm like listening to the recording or listening to the music, but I'm not playing the music.
Well, was this information available before 1999?
Oh, absolutely. It was before 1999, I would get bits and pieces of information. And while everybody can do this and everyone is psychic to some level, it's a matter of practice. I didn't want to be different from other people. I didn't necessarily have the time. I was working on something else. So finally in 1999, I had an experience where I was working in an office and I heard a voice come, and I looked around the office and there was no one there. And a friend of mine was taking classes with a very famous psychic at the time, and I said, it's time for me to start as well. And I started taking classes, and more, my gift began to grow and develop.
And what does a student learn in psychic classes?
You learn how to cultivate basically your gift, how to open up your energy field so that you can be really the receiver of the information. Because if somebody is open to allowing you into their fields, people are an open book. And you just have to know how to read and interpret the signals.
Okay. Now, is there something you do to prepare yourself to be able to listen to Source?
What I often do will go ahead and meditate. And then when I finish meditating and focusing on my client after they've left, I have to disconnect from that energy to make sure that I'm not connected to anybody else's energy but my own.
And how long do you meditate for?
Depending on the situation, it will be anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes before I see a client.
And do you practice meditation when you're not seeing a client? Do you have a regular meditation practice?
I know a lot of people do. For me, sometimes it works that way where I'll meditate regularly. Sometimes it's whenever I feel like it. So sometimes I'll do it every day, and then I stop. So it depends on what I'm feeling comfortable with that day.
Okay. Now, how is, let's say, a psychic such as yourself meditation different from, say, someone else who learns meditation like Zen meditation or some other technique?
What happens when I'm going into meditation for someone else, I'm taking the energy and focusing on that particular individual to find out what information there is available for them, that it's best to be relayed to them. When somebody's going into meditation for themselves, they're going to just connect for themselves and just to be at peace for themselves and to learn what they can at that time from Source. Makes
sense to me. Okay. So how do psychics help people?
Wow. How do psychics help people? Basically by answering questions to help them along their life path. I've had people come to me and say, should I take this job? So we'll take a look at the job and see what the benefits are so that somebody can make an educated decision. It's basically we're here to empower people to make the best decision for them. Because to allow somebody else to make all of your decisions, then you're not learning your lessons. And that's what we're all here for, to learn lessons and to grow. So what I try to do is give people as much information as possible to make the best decision they can for them.
Okay. Now, but that, was a career choice. What other types of questions or problems do people come to you for and that you help them with?
People will come to me with career. People will come to me with relationship issues. And oftentimes we can take a look at the person who they're interacting with and describe that person and see how well that the two are matching and find out, is there a lesson for this person to learn? Is it best for this person to continue on in a relationship with the person they're having an issue with? We also have people come with finances. Some people will have a choice of, this business decision looks really, really good today. Is it still going to look good 3 weeks from now, 3 years from now? And so we take a look at that. And we also take a look really at what somebody's life goals are. Many people want to know what their life purpose is. And if you're learning, you're following your path. And it's just a matter of picking up the signals of saying, really, what is it that makes your heart sing to guide you along the best path for you?
Now, do you ever do like parties?
Absolutely.
Oh, tell our audience, you know, what you would do at a party, because I've been to a party where there was a psychic there, and I also interviewed a psychic. I think she calls herself the coffee psychic, Jorianne.
Ah, Jory. Yes, I've heard of her.
Yeah, I've interviewed her 2 or 3 times.
Very nice.
Yeah, so so our audience may not be, they might want to hire you to come to their party. So.
Awesome. At a party, it can be done one of 2 ways. When I've spoken at expos, I've had a room full of people. And in a room full of people, there really isn't that much privacy. So if you ask a question, anything can pop out. And for example, I had one lady ask a question for her friend, and all of a sudden, right in front of my face was sandwiches. And I said, I really think there's a problem with too much sandwiches. And she said her friend had just started an all-bread diet that week. So there's something we could do, a party in a group, or we could do a party where there's a big group of people, and I say people on an individual basis for like between 5 and 15 minutes at a time.
Okay. Okay. Now, is there advantage for a group? I know on television sometimes you'll see a very famous psychic give readings. Is there advantage to having a group?
Yes and no. There's a difference. Let me put it to you that way. When you're meditating in a group per se, you have the energy of the group. So that energy, instead of it being 1+1 energy, it's powered up. So it's really much, much higher than the individual basis. So you can look at it that way. That is a benefit. You can also, though, look at it as it's not as private as a one-on-one individual session.
Okay. Now, I understand you work with guides. Tell our audience what you mean by a guide and how working with guides can help a person.
You have several guides in this lifetime that you will change for you depending on what lesson that you're working on.
Now, a guide, someone physical, like a guidance counselor, or could be a plant, or could be an animal?
Absolutely, because the guides, they're going to be spirit guides. You're going to have a team. You will have one spirit guide that comes in with you from your birth, and that spirit guide will be with you from the time you're born until the time you die. And they've spent the equivalent of between 600 and 900 of our Earth years to learn about you and your whole life path and all of your past lives. And what happens is...
Where did you get that figure or knowledge from? Is that something you get from your own experience, or...?
That information I've heard when I was taking classes, and that information was also channeled when I was doing the soul memory discovery work. Okay.
And is it okay to ask you about your main spirit guide?
Oh, absolutely. I have my main spirit guide. He's male. And what happens is if you're, for the most part, your guide will be opposite gender than you, so that will help balance out your energy, so that you're not too excited all the time. And what happens is, depending on what lesson you're learning, your main spirit guide will contact other guides to help you learn that lesson. So, for example, if I'm working on the lesson of interviewing and that kind of thing, one of my guides will contact somebody who's really good with that and bring them in to help calm me down while I'm interviewing. And so those guides, when you're learning your lesson, will change, but your main spirit guide will stay with you until you pass.
And do most people ever connect with their main spirit guide?
Absolutely. You can connect with your main spirit guide at any point in time. It does not matter what name you call them, so long as you acknowledge that you know that they're there, that more they can help you. The most important thing for you to do is show gratitude to your guide. Then they know for sure that you know that they're helping you. So they're empowered to help you as much as they possibly can, so that you can ask them a question. The answer may pop in your head, especially if you've misplaced something. You can say, help me find this. You can say things like, help me get to this certain place on time. And your guide can help deviate your routes so that you're there on time.
Okay. Now, is it possible, could someone have like God or nature or the light as a spirit guide?
Absolutely. Those people absolutely can be on your team. Like for the physicians, Archangel Raphael will come and sit on somebody's team for a while while they're learning. So, yes, but is that guide going to be your main spirit guide? No, because that's not the agreement.
Do people have other guides than the main spirit guide?
Right, that will be your teacher. So
Okay.
those will be the ones that will change out depending on what lesson you were to learn.
So it's almost unlimited, the number of guides a person has, because there's just so many lessons, unlimited number of lessons to learn.
That's correct, but your soul has chosen, when you've come down, you've chosen 7 karmic lessons to learn. So you're going to have up to 9 different guides helping you at one time, depending on what lesson you learned. Now, let's say one of your lessons was algebra. So you'd have a mathematician on your side and a teacher. But once you've finished the algebra lesson and you've completed that, those guides who were there just for the algebra lesson, they don't have to be there anymore, so they will change.
Okay. What about like people we find difficulties with or challenged by? Could they be really guides sent to help us?
Oh, absolutely. It's people who challenge you. You could remember them from a past life if you don't have any interaction from them before. One of my favorite things to say to people is look at them and what is this person reflecting in you? Because oftentimes it's what we see in others is a reflection of what we don't like in ourselves, and we project that onto the other person.
Okay, I would agree with that. Okay, and what is the most important thing a psychic can teach a person?
Is how to make the best decisions for themselves. And to know that when they're hearing guidance for themselves, that they don't need anyone else to do that.
And what about faith and trust? Are those
Absolutely.
important lessons to learn people to learn to trust their faith?
If you can teach somebody or bring somebody to a level where they can trust their inner knowing by themselves, that's the best thing that you can do for somebody.
And why is it so difficult for people to trust their inner knowing, their instincts, their intuition?
Because it's not tangible. It's when you hear the voice in your heart or the voice in your head, you're sort of like, well, wait a second, I'm not 100% sure, because you can't feel it and you can't touch it. It'd be much more easier if it was a piece of something to hold on to know for sure that it was real.
Okay. And is everyone psychic?
Yes. The only difference between me and anyone else is the amount of practice. We all have times when our inner knowing will kick in and say, no, take this road, don't take another road. We will all have moments, go for this piece of fruit and not that piece of fruit. Granted, some of it may sound trivial, but we all have that connection because the psychic ability is a connection to source, and we all came from source. So yes. So
do you think when we follow our psychic abilities and intuition that the result is always going to be good and be good and make us better?
Good is how you define it. You're still going to have lessons to learn, and some of the lessons can be nice and fluffy and pretty, but some are going to be pretty difficult. Like the lesson of standing up for yourself. The first time we stand up for ourselves, usually we're really little and we're saying no for the first time. And then when we're with people who we love, it's kind of funny, it's kind of cute, but as you're growing up and standing up for yourself, it's not always easy.
Okay. All right. And how does one develop and use their psychic powers?
You can take classes. You can sit in meditation, and you can, however you feel that you're building your connection to Source, whether that's, you consider that Source, whether that's religion. So whatever it is that you're practicing on a continual basis to improve your gifts, you're going to improve it. Now, can you, specific people, like a mentor, help you in a different way? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you feel like other things come into play with developing psychic ability, like diet?
Yes, but that does not work for everybody all the time. Different people have said when they become more vegetarian that they become lighter and that they'll be more in tune with the light. Does that work for everybody all the time? No, it doesn't.
Does anything work for everybody
all the time? No, but it does take into play, because it's a lot of people will tell you you're much more grounded and closer to the earth, much more dense when you're eating meat. Mm-hmm. I've noticed sometimes when I'm at an Italian restaurant that you can't stop me from talking. It's just coming in right away, and there's a lot of meat products there. So, but yes, it certainly can come into play, and the better you take care of the physical body in terms of diet and health, the more accurate of a channel that you're going to be in. By channel, I mean the more accurately you're going to be receiving the psychic information. Or psychic or intuitive information, however you want to describe it.
It is, and by the way, is psychic and intuitive information one and the same?
I like to use them interchangeably. I know not everyone does.
Okay. Yeah, and how have you noticed people differentiate intuition from psychic ability?
I find that intuition is a much softer word for a lot of people, mm-hmm. and I feel people are much more embracing of mm-hmm. intuitive information, that it's something that we can all be comfortable with, where a lot of people are not necessarily comfortable with psychic information because there's a lot of history with it that's not always been positive.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. And so what are some of the common questions people ask you?
Oh. When is my mate coming? Mm-hmm. How is my health?
So people don't even know how their health is, and they're asking.
Or they want to double check. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so people ever test you?
Sure.
Okay.
And sometimes it's real interesting, because when I'm sitting across from somebody, oftentimes the information will mirror. So if I'm sitting across from somebody, I'll feel it on my left side when it's really hitting their right side. So it's really something you have to really figure out which side of the body you're working with.
Any other common questions?
My life purpose. That's been a big one for the past couple of years.
Okay. Any stock market questions?
That, I thought I would have more of that, but I've really only had a few people ask about that.
Okay.
Because for the most part, I think we all know that the stock market has its ups and downs. And if you have something that's really good and hold on to it long enough, it'll keep its value.
Okay. And, I got a political thing.
Sure.
I interviewed, I remember, an astrologer when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were going for the Democratic nomination.
Yes.
But at this particular time, we've already know who the two candidates are. You have any psychic hit on this election for president?
Wow. I've been feeling within the past couple of days that it's going to be Romney.
Okay, but of course that can change, and I know
sure,
you
absolutely.
haven't meditated. And maybe you are meditating as we speak and connected to Source. I would hope so. And so you've mentioned several times that information comes from Source. How do you know when the information is coming from Source or from information's coming from something other than source?
Because when the information is coming in from source or directly from the angels or from somebody's guide, there will be no doubt in my mind. Absolutely no doubt.
So it's a self-evident truth.
It's a self-evident truth that when I'm relaying it to a person, I have no doubt, and 9 times out of 10, the person calms down because they can feel that it's coming from source as well.
Okay. All right. And then let's talk a little about the soul memory. What is soul memory discovery?
Soul memory discovery is a process of releasing the karma or the karmic patterns that we live our lives through. When we come into this earth, we bring in 7 karmic lessons. And sometimes it's real easy to clear up a piece of karma, which is a big lesson you have to learn, but you still repeat the patterns of still holding on to that lesson. So what we do is take a look at somebody's energy field to make sure that there's nothing blocking light or connection to source from them, because we have the 4 different levels that we talked about, and sometimes it's real easy for different energy to be stuck in one of those fields. Mm-hmm. So first we clean out the energy fields, then after we do that, we go through sacred wording to remove the blocking or heal the karma.
What is sacred wording?
It's a wording that has been channeled in so that you declare what is allowed to be in your field.
So the person who you're doing this actually chooses the sacred words?
They don't choose, they repeat the sacred words as they're spoken.
Okay. And so the source is really the one who supplies the sacred words?
Absolutely.
Now, is it you, the sacred words, you getting that from source? Is it your client getting the sacred words from source?
The sacred wording has already been channeled in from source, so we already know what that is. What we're doing is the client it's specific to. So when I'm working with somebody, they're going to be repeating the sacred wording to release whatever no longer suits them.
Okay. And could sacred wording be repeated? Because I know, like
Yes.
in mantras, it can't. So what are some of the sacred wordings that you've heard?
Oh, that's specific for the soul memory, and basically what we're doing with the sacred wording, I can't necessarily give you that, but I can tell you that you're allowing what is to be in your space and what's not to be in your space.
And the words create the definition,
Yes.
or the boundaries.
Exactly.
Create the boundaries. All right, we've got 30 seconds or less. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I think that's it.
Well, then I'll add something.
Okay.
Just find the source. Go to the source.
Absolutely.
That, like, I think you said it all. It's like we're all psychic if we connect to source.
And when you're connected, trust that. And if you're not sure that you trust it, connect more so that you yourself have no doubt.
Well, and I think we do more harm when we don't go to source than when we don't follow the source or
Absolutely.
don't act on it. All right. For more information about Michelle Heather, Infinity Foundation, or her Quest talk show, stay tuned to the credits at the end. Until next time, wish you good health, good spirits, and good fortune. Thank you, Michelle.
For more information about this show, our guests, Infinity Foundation, or any of our other programs, please visit our website, infinityfoundation.org, or call us at 847-831-8828.